I'm Christy Nicola, born July of 1962, rendering me 32 years of age. I was a subject in radiation as well as mind control and drug experiments performed by a man I knew as Dr. Green. My parents were divorced around 1966, and Donald Richard Ebner, my natural father, was involved with Dr. Green in the experiments. I was a subject from 1966 to 1976. Dr. Green performed radiation experiments on me in 1970, focusing on my neck, throat, and chest, 1972 focusing on my chest and my uterus in 1975. Each time I became dizzy, nauseous, and threw up. All these experiments were performed on me in conjunction with mind control techniques and drugs in Tucson, Arizona. Dr. Green was using me mostly as a mind control subject from 1966 to 1973. His objective was to gain control of my mind and train me to be a spy assassin.
Hey YouTube world, harvest is plenty. I hope all is well. I just want to do a video about this shooter who was found dead at a Colorado amusement park. I've been kicking that around in my head for a day or two now, and I decided to do a video and talk to you guys about it. The whole scene and scenario is just weird to me. I don't know. Have you guys heard about this? It's like it was some MK Ultra event. MK Ultra is real. It's not a conspiracy theory. But I want to, I guess, share some information about MK Ultra and talk about two other events that happened recently as well. So let's dive in.
So you brought up MK Ultra.
Yes.
MK Ultra was a government program run by the Central Intelligence Agency. Originally started as something called Bluebird in 1948-49, morphed into Artichoke, and then in 1952 became MK Ultra. It was a mind control program, a brainwashing program. The CIA was trying to learn how to control people's behavior without their knowledge. Now, this is all came out in Senate and congressional hearings in the 70s. It was exposed, but nobody knew about it until 1974 when Seymour Hersh, the New York Times reporter, reported it on the front page of the paper. So their main objective was to create what they called hypno-programmed assassins, people who would kill on command, popularly known as Manchurian candidates, after a book that was written in 1962 and later became a movie and then a movie again. The people would be, through drugs and hypnotism, the objective was to get people to go and commit an act of murder against their moral code and have no memory of their programming and be amnesic even of the act after the fact often. That was just that was their main goal, but they were also trying to create couriers, people, military people that they could implant messages, send them, across dangerous areas where there were, at that time it was the Vietnam War, and deliver messages and then have them wiped from their memory in case they were captured. They had all kinds of objectives. So
as you can see, MK Ultra is not a conspiracy theory. There were actual congressional hearings about that. So it's the real deal Holyfield, creating mind control assassins. Just like the movie with Matt Damon, Born Identity, Born Supremacy, Manchurian Candidate with Denzel Washington, so on and so forth. Now, I don't know if this is the beginning of the Black Awakening that Russ Dizdar talked about in his book, but a lot of weird things is going on. It's just strange. So you had one of the things, before I get to the Colorado amusement park guy, you had an off-duty pilot. He tried to down an Alaska Airlines flight leaving from the state of Washington headed to San Francisco. He was sitting there in the cockpit. He was off duty. And he decided he wanted to take down the plane. And so the pilot and the co-pilot had to subdue the off-duty pilot. How crazy is that? And if you guys are not familiar with the story, look that up and read up on that. That's interesting. Then we all heard about Robert Card, the military firearms instructor who was hearing voices in his head. His brother said he was an avid outdoorsman. They interviewed a guy from his military unit, and he said that the shooter was the best shooter in their unit. This guy was hearing voices in his head, and the voices was telling him to attack the military base. Instead, he went to a bowling alley and to a bar/restaurant and committed atrocities there. He said he was hearing voices in his head. It kind of reminds me of the Navy Yard shooter in Washington, D.C. What's his name? Was it Aaron Alexis? I think it was. He carved the initials ELF into the buttstock of the gun that he was using, because he said he was hearing voices, and the voices was being boomed inside of his head, urging him to go ahead and commit those killings. When this guy, Robert Card, was found, the initial reports across all mainstream media was that he was found dead with 2 gunshots to the head. That would indicate that somebody killed him, and that his body was dumped like near a recycling container or something like that out in the woods. And then within the blink of an eye, all of those stories, they vanished, and a new story was put out that he died from a single gunshot wound to the head. So that was very strange, because everybody was reporting that his body was found with 2 gunshot wounds to the head, indicating to me that his handler or whoever he was dealing with took him out, or somebody took him out. When these shootings happen, there's a lot of people who want to push a certain narrative, and they get the job done. I know a lot of people say, well, initial reports are never true because people are rushing to publish the story, so they don't always have all the information, and blah, 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 blah. And that could be the case. But it's very weird and interesting. Then we go to the Colorado Amusement Park. So let's focus in on this real quick, and I can get out of your hair. You have a 20-year-old Diego Barajas Medina. He was found dead in a woman's restroom at Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park on Saturday morning before the park opened for the day. So this guy broke into the park overnight or sometime before the park opened, and he was there waiting for it to open to carry out his massacre. They said he was found with a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and he had inscribed the words on the wall, "I am not a killer. I just wanted to get into the caves." That was written on the wall. I am not a killer. I just wanted to get into the caves. Now at this adventure park, they said that they have caves that are used for tourists, that tourists could go through and stuff like that. But what if he was talking about underground bunkers or something like that? I'm not a killer. I just want to get into the bunker. Quid pro quo. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Now here's where some strange anomalies pop up, at least to me. It says, in the news release, the sheriff's office said he was dressed in black colored tactical clothing, bearing patches and emblems that gave the appearance of being associated with law enforcement. The suspect had been heavily armed with a semi-automatic rifle and a semi-automatic handgun and multiple loaded magazines for both weapons. He was wearing body armor and what appeared to be a ballistic helmet. Additionally, multiple improvised explosives devices, IEDs, were discovered with the suspect and in the vehicle associated with the suspect. It goes on to say officials told the media the weapons found were ghost guns, untraceable because they lacked serial numbers. Garfield County Sheriff Lou Valerio said that preliminary interviews have not revealed any previous warnings that Medina planned an attack, though the investigation is ongoing and in-depth interviews are still pending. Given the preparation, given the amount of weapons and ordnance he had, it almost seemed very highly likely he intended to use those against the community, but he chose not to. It goes on to say, while this investigation is still ongoing and very active, it is important to realize that given the amount of weaponry, ammunition, and explosive devices found, the suspect could have implemented an attack of devastating proportions upon our community and first responders. So here you have a 20-year-old guy with no job. He had plans of attending community college coming up next year. He had no run-ins with the police, so no police record, no law enforcement contact. He didn't even have a speeding ticket. The police raided his house. They said he had ghost guns, so you need to get the guns and assemble those ghost guns. There was no weapons at his house. There were no tools to assemble the ghost guns. There was no ammo. There are no receipts of any kind showing that he purchased these weapons, that he purchased ammo, that he purchased a ballistic helmet, that he purchased body armor, or that he purchased any supplies to make the IED explosives. There's nothing, no trace of anything. Also, there's no history of him owning guns or shooting guns. There's no video of him practicing at the range up the street. You know how you go to the gun range and there's video cameras everywhere, and if you commit a crime, the police can go and gain access to that video feed, and they can show that you've been to the range training and things like that. There's nothing for this guy. Nada. So where did he get all the money to buy all of that stuff from? Where did he learn to shoot at? Here's another article from USA Today. It says this: why did heavily armed man write, "I am not a killer"? He scribbled that on the wall before he took his life. So this guy drove up to the amusement park, dressed like a commando, like a special ops soldier or whatever, and then decided not to carry out the attack. And inscribed on the wall, "I am not a killer, I just want to get into the caves." And then he committed suicide. Does that sound strange to you? It seems like he was being forced to do something and he didn't want to do it. He was rebelling or something. Maybe he decided to turn against his handlers and they offed him. They killed him. Everything is weird about this particular case. What do you guys think? Here it says in this article here, I was reading it, it said, the amusement park is atop a mountain in Glenwood Springs, and most people reach it via a slow-moving gondola. Medina used a narrow service road to reach the park in his car Friday night, and officials say they would have had a hard time responding rapidly had Medina attacked others. So it goes back to you being your own first responder. If you would have been at that amusement park, and if the attack would have occurred, police said they would have had a hard time responding rapidly, to get to people. So you'd have been stuck until help would have arrived. Again, being your own first responder. Guys, these demons, they require blood. They require sacrifice. And the people who are orchestrating events to create a one-world government, they are very evil. I am not saying that those people had anything to do with this, so don't put words into my mouth. I'm just saying the people who are orchestrating to create a one-world government are evil, and they may have had a hand into these events or events coming down the road. Who knows? I don't know, but everything seems weird about the main shooting, about this guy at the amusement park, and even about the guy with Alaska Airlines who tried to take down a plane. Yeah, they say he was on mushrooms and blah, 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 blah. I get it. Mushrooms can make you do some crazy stuff when you're high. It's just weird. Guys, if you got to go out and be around large crowds, make sure that you pray. You stay prayed up. And if you have the ability to protect yourself, please do so. If you have the ability to carry a concealed carry weapon, please do so. Remember, when it comes to weapons like knives, guns, those are just tools. You use those tools, but you put your faith in Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior. He's the ultimate protector. But even he told his disciples when they was about to start the road trip in the Bible, he said, do you guys have any weapons? They're like, no. He said, go on and get some weapons. They came back with 2 knives. He said, all right, we good. And they traveled with 2 knives with them. Peter even used one of the knives to cut off the ear of the soldier when they came to arrest Jesus. And Jesus said, get thee behind me, Satan. Not because Peter used the weapon, but because Jesus had a mission to go to be sacrificed for the atonement of our sins and to destroy the works of the evil one and to reconcile the nations back unto him as well. Today is October 31, or 31st, which is Halloween, which is a high satanic holiday. If you decide to go out and participate in this holiday, please be safe. And even after this holiday, as we move towards Thanksgiving and the Christmas holidays, and if you participate in Black Friday sales and stuff like that, please be careful. I don't trust these people. I don't trust these demons. I don't trust these fallen angels that are controlling things. I don't trust a lot these days. Just stay prayed up and be careful. Love you guys. Till my next video. God bless you. And I will be talking about 5th generation warfare in my next video, because I believe that's what's being waged upon all of us. 5th generation warfare. Talk to you soon. Take care.